mentioned, this workshop is going to be on Speedgrader, and let me just first really quickly go over the outline of this event. So at first, we'll just take a quick look over how to actually access Speedgrader in Canvas, which is intuitive, but not as intuitive as people may think. And then we'll take a look at what it means to evaluate different assignments, mission types in Speedgrader. And assignments was one of the topics that we covered in the past, in one of the past workshops. I believe that workshop is on YouTube, so feel free to consult it at your own leisure after the current workshop. And it does cover various assignment types and various also and how they sort of figure and how they could be managed using Canvas gradebook. So today we will see how these different assignment types can be evaluated, and we'll take a look specifically at the text entry, Word file, either a document or docx, probably docx these days, a PDF, scan document, Google Doc, and then just regular link URL. And then later on, we'll also take a closer look at some of the navigation and management features in Gradebook. So without further delay, let me just switch over to my Canvas dashboard. Yours looks pretty similar, maybe a fewer boxes. And I'm going to go to my fake course, the LRC Sandbox 1, where you see that there's a whole bunch of things and where the homepage is.
Would you make your fonts a little bit bigger?
Oh, yes, 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 of course. Sure. So here's, is it good enough?
Yes, that's good.
Okay. So here is the homepage of my fake course, which contains a module, which is the same module that we, again, built together during one of the past workshops. And since we are already in the second half of the semester, we are definitely after the midterm, we are nearing Thanksgiving, I figured that I would maybe put together an assignment that asks for the students' Thanksgiving plans, okay? So let me open it up. And this assignment does just that. It is a free response prompt that is asking students about their plans for the occasion, whether they're going to be traveling or not, using Zoom extensively, what kind of foods are you looking forward to, standard things. Of course, this is just a mock assignment. You probably have more appropriate ones in the pipeline. But you will notice that right next to the assignment, there is the Speedgrader icon or Speedgrader link right here. Same link is not really available from the navigation menu on the left, which is something important to keep in mind. There are many ways to get to Speedgrader. Essentially, whenever you see this link right here, it will take you directly to that module. You will see that it is trademarked, so it's sort of a third-party thing, a third-party platform that is integrated in Canvas. Let us open it. And it will take us directly to the Thanksgiving assignment, which looks like this, right? So we see that there are a few icons, few navigation icons on the left, which we'll get to in a second. There's the title of the assignment here, some scores, and on the left-hand side, we have the students, or in our case, the student who submitted this specific submission, or who made this specific submission. If you're a fan of The Office, you will recognize these students. These are also fake students whom I created for this fake course. And each of these students submitted a different assignment. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and maybe begin with Andy here. And by selecting that particular student, I get access to, to the submission. And right off the bat, you see that there isn't a whole lot that we can really do by means, by way of editing this submission. We can change from what's called pay-per-view to plain text. And that is pretty much it. And that is sort of by design. And this is usually what happens when your students submit their assignments through what's called the text box. So a text box submission is something that you can choose when you are and as an acceptable submission type when you are developing these assignments. And an important thing to keep in mind is that if you allow your students to submit their content in that format, this is what you will get, right? So you will still see what's the content itself, but you're not going to be able to really use the full affordances and the power of Speedgrader to edit it. Okay, but so what the question is, so what can we do with it? Well, not much. We can grade it. So let's say that, well, let me get back to it maybe. And instead, let me just navigate to the comments feature right here, which allow us to do a couple interesting things. One thing that we could possibly do is to highlight the text, copy it, maybe move it to an editor that allows us to manipulate it and to apply various edits. So in my case, I use Google Docs a lot, so I just move it here, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight a couple. Just a few portions of it to indicate where possible mistakes may be in slightly different colors. Maybe something in red here. And I will go ahead and download it as a document. Okay, and as such, I will just put it on the desktop here. Okay, let me now go back to our Speedgrader to tell you why I did what I did. Okay, so with the document that contains all of my corrections, or some of the corrections that I used for an example, let's say that I want to use that document and append it by way of feedback. And as a comment, I will say explicitly that the students should take a look at the appended doc for my feedback suggestions. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. As soon as I do that, what's going to happen is that the system will generate an email to said student, in this case to Andy, where Andy will be notified that I have attended to the submission and I have sent him some feedback. What I forgot to do is I forgot to grade it. So let me, I don't know, give it some grade, maybe 8 out of 10. Now, and hit submit one more time. Now, important thing to keep in mind is that in my case, I am the grade consists of points, so the maximum score being 10. But you can also choose to give letter grades. You can also choose to give percentage grades. Again, this is something you determine when you structure various assignments. Okay, so that would be it. And the text box submission or text box assignment submission, just one sort of assignment type that your students can send in. Perhaps a more popular one would be a document, like a Word document, docx. So we do have a student who submitted the assignment that way. And in our case, that was Pam. So let us select that student. And you will see automatically that the submission now looks a little bit differently, right? We do have a taskbar here. We do with various options that we can then utilize to interact or interface with the submission, with this assignment. And we see that the assignment itself is rendered more like a Word document, right? So you remember that with the previous assignment, I had to copy the content, paste it into a separate text editor where I could, highlight, let's say, the various different portions of the text. Here, what I can do is I can use Canvas highlighter feature to do the same thing. So this is already sort of built in right there. And you notice that I can also do it in various different colors, right? And I don't know about you, and this is obviously something that would depend on your own approach to editing, to assessment, to correction in general. But I used to color code when I was an instructor. Whenever we were doing compositions, I would always, I had the different colors for different mistake types. And so at the end, say I would have yellow for spelling, I would have green for style, I would have red for grammar. So this is a way to sort of possibly translate that system to Speedgrader, to Canvas, and then in your comment box you can then provide an explanation of what all these colors mean. Another thing that you can do is you can, let's say that you disagree or you think that a portion of this written assignment is just thinking wrong. You can go ahead and just cross it out altogether, right? So that's another sort of edit feature that the Canvas affords you. Okay, so for this submission, let's say that I'm done with editing. I am pretty much done with correcting. I will give this 7 out of 10. Okay, and you will see that the grade is hidden, and that is by default. So having given that, I will provide a brief comment. Not too bad. Of course, mine are pretty short and meaningless, but I do it in interest of time. If we would like, if we maybe, if we're interested in something more substantial, what we, in a more substantial comment, what we could do is rather than typing it out, we could use Canvas voice recognition or automatic transcription, which is actually pretty robust and pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I will record my feedback, which will then be transcribed into text. And you will notice that I'm doing this in Google Chrome, which should be the default browser to use this system. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of elements that are necessary for it to work correctly, and Chrome kind of manages them very well and updates them automatically so that they work more often than they don't. Great job overall. There are a few mistakes that I pointed out. Come to my office hours to discuss them. There you go. So I think this is a pretty useful feature when it comes to feedback. It definitely saves you a lot of time. You guys I don't think you have a lot of students this semester, but still every minute saved that way could be reused or recycled for different purposes. So yeah, definitely a useful tool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and submit it. And that takes care of Pam for us. And again, just to sort of remind everyone, that submission was just a regular sort of Word document file. Let me see who is up next. Let's see what Jim has sent us. And this is pretty interesting because for Jim's submission, what we got was, well, what we see here is something that looks very similar to Pam's submission. However, since I submitted for Jim for the purpose of this workshop, I know that what Jim submitted was actually a PDF, right? So, we know that PDFs are sort of the default standard, the default format right now. If they are, well, depending on how they are generated, but if they consist mainly of text, they will render in Speedgrader in the same way pretty much that a Word document would appear. Let's say that I really didn't like, and it's the same submissions, the same text, but let's say that I really didn't like the first paragraph that Jim submitted. What I can do is I can box the whole thing, which then opens up a comment field. You have to rework this. So this is, and so here's my comment for this whole for this entire section. And in addition to that, let's say that I'm going to leave it. I really didn't like half of this submission, so I'll give a grade 5. And in terms of the comment, what I will do is I'm actually going to just record what I have to say to Jim. So to do that, I will click on the media button. And you will see that the system allows us to choose between either we can choose to turn off the video or keep the video on. I'm going to choose to do it without the video. I don't want Jim to see my face. And I will just record a very brief comment here. Please come to my office hours as soon as you see this. Okay, we are given an option to listen to it again if we want to, but let's say that we're happy with it. I'm just going to save it, and it is appended to my comments for this specific assignment. I will go ahead and submit it. Okay. It looks like it is submitted already. Okay, weird, I'm not getting any confirmation here. Okay. So far we've had a submission generated by a text box. We dealt with a Word doc, and we also currently are looking at an open PDF. But what happens if we have an assignment that requires our students to, I don't know, draw something or to write something by hand, which is, more sort of common with languages that are not based on Latin script, that are not based on Cyrillic, that actually require you to do some calligraphy. Chances are that in those cases, we'll have students write things on a piece of paper and either scan it or take a picture of it. And for the purpose of this workshop, this is exactly what Dwight did. So we'll see that what Dwight submitted is a scan of the same assignment. And we can tell that because there's really no good way in which we can differentiate between various words or lines of the text. It is kind of one general image. Thankfully, Canvas and Speedgrader specifically allow us to work with it, and we can do it using this comment pin feature right here. And the mine are going to be green. We can color code it too. So let's say that this word is spelled incorrectly. Let's say that this would be a different error type. I'm not sure what you mean by that. What's this? So you sort of get an idea of how this feature could be used. And whenever we mouse over the different comments, they link us over to the pins that we've put on the document. Again, this whole document is just one continuous image, which is why it doesn't really give us an ability to highlight different things, strike different things out. But what we can do is we can type on it. So this is, let's say, good, good work overall. And if we want to, we can even draw. Although this may not be, again, something that may be very useful to us. Again, although it is pretty difficult to do with a mouse or with a trackpad, it may be a little bit easier to do with a stylus, an iPad or a tablet, if that is what you're using for interacting with Speedgrader. Again, probably something that worth keeping in mind if for instructors who are working with non-Latin based scripts that require some calligraphic skills, right? But also, again, when working with the stylus. In our case, this makes little sense here, so I will go ahead and remove it by clicking this trash can icon. And you will notice that we can remove every single added component or every single added item in the same way by using by clicking on this trash bin character right here, the trash bin icon. Okay, so let me give Dwight a grade of 8. And I am not going to submit any additional feedback because all the feedback is in the comments. Go ahead and submit that. Beautiful. Okay. And so having submitted that, let me go back to the student list, and we will see that a few interesting things happened, right? So as we were going through our student submissions, the icons, the color icons next to the left of our student names changed. So Speedgrader differentiates between 3 different types of these signs. If you see green check, that means that the assignment has been graded. For an orange dot, that assignment requires grading, and our test students, since grayed out, it means that the test student has not submitted anything yet, right? So for our class, since we don't have a whole lot of students, it doesn't really matter much what order we go in, but for larger classes, we may want to move away from this default alphabetic ordering and sort of arrange this list in a way that puts the ungraded assignments on the top, right? That way we will, we'll know how many we have graded, how many there's still to grade, and so on and so forth. So to do that, what we will do is move over to this cog settings icon here and go to options. You will see that the list to the right is sorted currently alphabetically, but what we will do is we will change it to sort by submission status. We will save the settings. And that way we will see that the one ungraded assignment is now on top of the list. And it is our Michael Scott. So let me open up his assignment. Okay, and this is very interesting. And it's interesting for a couple of reasons, right? So it appears in the same way, or it renders in the same way as a Google Doc or as a PDF. However, what Michael Scott did, and by Michael Scott myself, the assignment was submitted through Google Docs, and the reason why it shows the way it does is because I have Google Docs synced with my version of Canvas, which is something that we covered in one of the previous workshops, and is something that you definitely want to do from your Canvas settings. Once you do that, any assignment submitted through Google Docs will render as just like a regular document, which will then allow you to use all these different features to highlight, correct, type on it, strike things through, provide comments, and things like that. If you do not have your Google Docs synced with your version of Canvas, it's really not a big deal. What's going to happen in that case is, let me just show you here. What's going to happen in that case is the system will generate a link, which will look something like that. It will be an active hyperlink. If once you click on it, the document will render in the same window, and instead of providing you with these little functions here, what it will do is it will give you access to the same editing tools that are available to you in Google Docs. So essentially, you will be editing it from the Google Docs level rather than through Speedgrader. At the same time, you will have access to the Speedgrader grading function, so you'll be able to assign the score, give it some comments. If you want to provide feedback either orally or in writing, you will also be able to do that. One thing to keep in mind is that this is not just true for Google assignments. This will be true for really anything else. So let's say that you have an assignment that requires your students to work with Padlet, and once they've developed their project or they've completed their task in Padlet, you want them to share it with you via link, right? So what they will do is they will submit a link through the assignment into Speedgrader. That link will be available to you in this format. You will click on it, and the web page will render within Speedgrader so that you can, again, take a look at it, interact with it, assess it, comment on it, and so on and so forth. Then finally submit it back to your students and to your student and to the gradebook. Okay, so what I will do now is I'm not going to do much with it. I will just give it maybe 8 out of 10. No comments really, and I will go ahead and submit that. Okay. So one thing that I wanted to perhaps point out maybe is that, let's see here. One thing that I wanted to point out here is, let me go back to Michael Scott, is that depending on how you structure the assignment itself, you may choose to enable the rubric option. I deliberately did not enable it for the purpose of this workshop. Had it been enabled, there would have been a little link right here. We will be talking about rubrics in a week. It is, again, a very useful tool if you do indeed implement rubrics in your teaching and in your assessment. And if that is something you guys are interested in, next week we'll delve into the topic in greater detail. But for now, this is it. Michael Scott was our last submission. I think we're pretty much done grading. Let us go ahead and see what this looks like in our gradebook, which is where this icon will take us to. Okay, so we will see that the assignment that we're just working on is in this column right here. So this is our, just expanded. This is the Thanksgiving plans assignment. Here are our grades. The test student did not submit anything, so hence the little hyphen here. And we will see that it is not visible, right? And it is so by default. Well, what we would want to do, ideally, once we're done grading, is for our students to actually see the grades. So let us then go back to our Speedgrader and click on this icon right here, where we can either post the grades or we can hide the grades, right? They're currently hidden. Let us post them. And here we can choose whether we want to post everyone's grades or just the things that we have graded, or if we have more than one section for the course, which I don't, for this fake course, we can select the sections that the grade where we want to reveal the grades. Okay, I'm gonna toggle this off, confirm that I want everyone's grades to be released, and I will go ahead and post it. Perfect. So now that everything is posted, let's just take another look at the gradebook. And lo and behold, they're all listed here. Okay. I think one of the advantages of sort of posting everything all at once is that as you are working through your grading stack, and as you're working through a grading stack, if you're posting grades one by one, you may have students then chiming in or replying to you and asking you, okay, well, you graded this person, why didn't you grade me? So like, I always prefer to kind of release everything all at once. But again, this would be something that is up to you and how you choose to structure things in your course. Okay, so let me now go back to our little slide deck and just review really quickly what we've covered in this brief workshop. So we talked about Speedgrader. We went over how to access it. And then we went into evaluating different submission types, right? And we looked at the just basic text entry. We looked at Word documents, PDFs, document scans, Google Docs, and we also used the Google Docs submission to talk about linked documents or just URLs in general. This is what a link submission looks like when accessed through Speedgrader. And we also talked about navigating between students, submission sorting, so making sure that the ungraded stuff is at the top of the list. And then we also looked at how to publish grades. Okay. And that is pretty much it when it comes to Speedgrader. Again, things get easier the more you use it, the more you use them, the more you interact with them. And with that in mind, I'm gonna switch over to Q&A and see if there's anything else that I can answer for you or help you with.